Hi, my name is Christian Ota. I did my epidemiology study analysis presentation on the Kuakini Honolulu Heart Program, HHP, which is what I'll be referring to as in my presentation. And it is a prospective cohort study. So what is the background and the purpose of the Kuakini health system? It is to understand the incidence of coronary heart disease and stroke. The program started in 1965 and has been funded since by the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. And the Kuakini HHP is internationally renowned for its contribution to biomedical research, provides a foundation for major research studies, including the newer Kuakini Honolulu Heart Program Offspring Study. The Kuakini HHP Offspring Study is oriented towards the descendants of the original cohort study, examines multi-generational research on several diseases, health conditions, and healthy aging. The study hopes that linkage of data results in major research contributions to benefit Hawaii, international communities, and future generations. The population study begins with a cohort of 8,006 men of Japanese ancestry living on Oahu, Hawaii, and the age of the cohorts were 45 to 68 years. Current studies focus on men aged 71 to 93 years and newer middle-aged men from the Kuakini Honolulu Heart Program Offspring Study. So what are the general health outcomes? It is to address dietary guidelines, develop smoke-free programs for primary and secondary schools, and to provide rehabilitation for heart attack victims. And general studies include hypertension, chronic lung disease, and cohort databases include cancer, diabetes, and dementia, among other diseases. And specific health outcomes include atherosclerosis, ectopic cardiovascular fat, purine-derived N3 fatty acids, and arterial stiffness. Methodology, study design. The Kuakini Honolulu Heart Program is an example of a prospective cohort study. It is the second longest running longitudinal study of Japanese men. It is the longest running and largest longitudinal study of Japanese American men in the US. The Kuakini Health System is a nonprofit corporation, operates the medical center, geriatric care facility, and the foundation and support services, collects data through its medical center, which is licensed, and 212 bed acute care teaching hospital accredited by the Joint Commission. Comparison groups. The Kuakini HHP STAR Honolulu Heart Program study of atherosclerosis risk has comparison groups, Caucasian and African American men from Pittsburgh and Korean men in Seoul, Korea. In another study, the 7-country study examines mortality from coronary heart disease. Comparison groups from Australia, Canada, France, Japan, Spain, Sweden, the UK, and the US. So what are major variables that they measure? So some major variables are calcification of arteries and blood pressure. The measurement of coronary artery calcification is by CT scans, and aortic calcification, AC, is measured by electron beam tomography. And the amount of calcium in the arteries is an important predictor of death. HHP study by El Sayed et al. Examines coronary heart calcification, compares coronary heart calcification in 310 Japanese men in Kusatsu, Japan, 300 white men in Allegheny County, US, and 292 Japanese Americans in Hawaii, US, from 2002 to 2006. And the Japanese men in Hawaii are descendants of the original cohort study. All the men were randomly selected and 40 to 50 years old. They did not have a history of heart disease or stroke. And what are the results of the coronary artery calcification study? We found out that there is a 3-fold increase of coronary heart calcification in the Hawaii population, in contrast to the Japan sample. So the men in Japan were 4 times more likely to smoke cigarettes. And this is counterintuitive to the findings that they have lower coronary heart calcification. And this accords with the teaching from textbook that prospective cohort studies do not necessarily constitute cause and effect relationship, like a crate and barrel relationship, when measuring exposure to health outcomes. And another study by Abner et al., 2015, examines midlife high blood pressure to development of dementia in old age. And it's consistent with two types of dementia, Alzheimer's and stroke-related dementia. So the results indicated the high blood pressure is found to be a measure for reduced cognitive function and risk of developing dementia later in life. The risk of developing dementia is nearly 5 times greater for those with untreated high blood pressure than those with treated high blood pressure. And the HHP study by Kikuchi et al. Links midlife high blood pressure to an increase of microscopic activity involving Alzheimer's disease in the brain at 25 years or more later. So the condition is indicated by lower brain weights or brain shrinkage. And this relates to accepted findings of high blood pressure, which is associated with stroke lesions in the brain. Additional comments. So I particularly like that the study is very consistent. The Kuakini Health System celebrated its 115th anniversary in 2015 and its 50th anniversary for the Kuakini Honolulu Heart Program. Also fascinated by the program recruitment. The programs selected Japanese American men that were volunteer participants that recruited from the Selective Service Registry for World War II. And it's remarkable because some of the men have lived to be over 100 years and been continuous contributors throughout the years. Suggestions for the study. I suggest that this program continues to increase its diversity factor for comparison groups in the study. And although there are some HHP studies that already involve other races, like I discussed earlier, it will increase the range, reliability, and validity of the results. And the possible research topic is examining cohort effects of religion on coronary heart disease and stroke, given that there are enough participants. And I'm excited to see what direction this program takes with its new and continued research. Thanks for watching.